Franklin.
Thank you.
About a month. About a month.
Yeah, January 12th. Yeah.
We have another order. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Well, we have to
there's
maybe go out of order.
There's a couple directors that have, unfortunately, a conflicting meeting today. So, if I could take the last two remaining action items and then go back to the information, the Oakland Airport Connector, and the BART Metro concept. So I would like to take the cell phone interruption policy and then the redistricting of the election districts. So first on the cell phone policy, I wanted just to provide, good morning, Marcia. I wanted to provide a just quick overview of what's different from the last policy, if I may. New to this policy is the context surrounding any future consideration of disruption of cell phone service, that BART's mission is to provide safe and reliable transit service, and some late-breaking news. Yesterday, late afternoon, we received a comment from the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, on this policy. And they have been incorporated in the policy in the back of the room. Is it an underlined sentences in the back of the room as well, just to highlight those changes?
Yes, sir. The FCC reviewed the policy and suggested that 2 sentences be added. They are in your packet and they are shown as underlined. So from the mailing that went out on Friday, there are 2 new sentences added to the draft policy, and they are shown as underlined, one in the first paragraph, one in the second paragraph.
So these comments from the FCC relate to the context surrounding a cell phone disruption. First, that it is an acknowledgement that cell phone is for BART to acknowledge that cell phone reception networks are critical to the economy and to democracy. And also that to provide a context that the benefits of a cell phone interruption outweigh the public safety risks of an interruption. And then overall, that the policy would occur under extraordinary circumstances with an imminent threat. And again, I just want to reiterate that this policy is the circumstances under which any temporary interruption would occur. The actual implementation of the policy would go through proper protocol as defined by BART operational procedures and by state and federal laws. So with that, I would like to open this up for discussion. Any board members wish to? Actually, I would like to read into record those 2 changes that the FCC supplied last night, and we've incorporated them into this draft policy that's before this board. The first sentence says, the district also recognizes that any interruption of cellular service poses serious risk to public safety, and that available open communications networks are critical to our economy and democracy and should be preserved to the fullest extent possible. And the second sentence that we've added to this draft policy from the FCC's recommendation is, any decision to implement a temporary interruption must be pursuant to the determination that public safety benefits outweigh the public safety risks of an interruption. So with that, are there comments from the board?
Yes, I would like to first commend President Franklin for his hard work. The fact that the FCC has reflected on this in glowing terms actually is a feather to our cap. So I would like to take at this moment, that's a little bit out of order, is to make the motion to pass this policy. I'd like to make the motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a move by Director Fang and seconded by Director Blaylock. Let's first continue to take comments. Director Radulovich. Director Vice President McPartland.
I'd like to start off simply by endorsing it, and I'm irritated that Director Fang beat me to the punch.
I live for that, John.
Yeah. I think that the way this is written and what it states is critical from the standpoint of making it very clear from a policy perspective that the full intent and the only intent is to preserve the safety of the patrons, the public, and BART employees in relationship to the disruption of cell service that would otherwise put those in jeopardy. That's the only focus. And I am grateful that we got this feedback from the FCC before we end up making this vote, because that's critical to the standpoint of we would otherwise have to wait until we ended up hearing from them. So I'm delighted that we've gotten that feedback before. And I also endorse the idea of voting this in today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would also like to, I was very appreciative of the comments from the FCC last night. I think they added a proper balance to this policy by comparing it to the benefits of cutting the risks to public safety that a cell phone disruption would cause. So the benefits have to outweigh the risks of providing a service that we would be curtailing. And we did also receive input from the BART's Police Citizen Review Board and the ACLU, as well as the Chief of Police's from the agencies around the Bay Area, and also sought the input from the PUC. We do have one public speaker on this topic, Bryce Nesbitt. Bryce, welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the board. I urge the board to keep extraordinary circumstance number 1 and 2, but strike extraordinary circumstance number 3. Number 1 is explosives, number 2 is violent or hostage situations, and number 3 essentially talks about protest. The BART board is not able to control the cell towers that are on the surface, and the cell signals reach fairly well onto the concourse level. I know I was a subcontractor on a radio survey in the San Francisco station some years ago. So basically we're talking about the train level at the underground stations. I feel the utility of cell service to protesters at those locations is relatively small, and that basically it's not worth it. That Section 3 opens up the board to claims of free speech, and you've heard it all, and loudly, and it's just not worth it. The amount of utility to the protesters compared to the weight of the concern of freedom of speech and suppression and heavy-handedness just isn't worth it. I think extraordinary circumstance number 1, extraordinary circumstance number 2 are good and should be kept, but I urge you to strike Section 3 before passing that. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nesbitt.
Can we bring it to a vote,
Okay.
Mr. President?
So we have a motion by Director Fang and a second by Director Blaylock. Please vote electronically.
Yes. Lynette and Joel.
James?
I did. I voted. Didn't I? Oh, sorry. Yes, excuse me.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay,
The motion.
thank you very much.
Yeah.